Good evening and welcome to the first episode of Armchair Quarterback. I'm Tom Duggan for DTC Sports, and this evening and throughout the football season, we're going to be talking football on all levels, high school, college, and the professional level, as, of course, those levels get started in the coming weeks. This week, we're going to be a little bit high school heavy, but what we're going to do in the coming weeks, folks, we're going to talk about football games. We're going to have coach interviews. We're going to sit here and cut up. We're going to pick some football games. Guys, for us, this is the most exciting time of year for us football fans, and we're really looking forward to the show. Before we get started, I'm Tom Duggan, the host for Armchair Quarterback, alongside my two broadcast partners on our DTC Sports High School Football Games of the Week, the coach, Chris Vance, my longtime broadcast partner, Darvin Gill. And let's introduce our guest. Of course, we will have a different guest each and every week. This week, we welcome in Tony Stennett. Tony's kind of the do-all guy around here in the Cannon County area anyway, as works for the Cannon Courier, does a little coaching. Tony, is there anything you do not do?
There's plenty I don't do, or very well anyway, but keeps you busy and, pretty exciting around here most of the time.
We're very excited, Tony, about the football season, and, of course, our first DTC Sports High School Football Game of the Week is going to center around the Cannon County Lions as they welcome in the Watertown Purple Tigers. These two teams met last season to open the year. Not a good start for Cannon County. New coaching regime here now for the Lions. What have you seen so far from Cannon County that's got you encouraged about the 2012 campaign?
Well, certainly through the three scrimmages and the jamboree to this point, the defense has been consistently good. It really hasn't mattered the differences in the offenses they've seen, or whether it's been a passing attack, running game. They have been good and getting better each week. And really the last 2 years, that was quite a problem defensively. Now, a lot of these players on defense have started the last season or two. So they've been building to this on that side of the ball. There's a lot of veterans back, and it's showing, guys flying around, doing a much better job containing. I think we saw that at the jamboree. Offensively, it's going to be different. Cannon County is used to airing it out and, can put up a few points here and there but not stop anybody. I see this year, to this point, it looks a little different where you can rely on the defense. And the offensive changes I think you'll see is that this team will be more run-oriented. It's not really a single tailback. It's a tailback by committee. And I think that will aid their running game, which will allow them to run the clock a little more, be successful in that way where they weren't the last couple years. So those are the changes I think will give them a better chance to be in football games with the personnel they have.
We'll talk more about that game, and, of course, we're going to have Coach Brent Bush joining us also a little later on with his comments. We'll talk a little bit more about Cannon County football, and I'll get Darvin and Coach's take here in just a moment. We also want to remind you that Armchair Quarterback is brought to you by the great folks at DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. Good enough to feed us here on Armchair Quarterback, take good care of us, and we'll be talking more about our sponsor coming up throughout the telecast. Coach, as we talk about the new regime in Cannon County, Coach Brent Bush, military background, disciplined, very disciplined. I think he's brought a lot of structure to this program. You and I have had a chance to talk to Coach Bush. I believe he's going to bring a no-nonsense mentality, and I think in that sense we'll see a lot of changes on the field also for Cannon County.
Every coach is going to have his or her own personality and how they want to do things. Coach Bush has a mindset coming in about the changes that he wanted to make with Cannon County. He had the certain style and the attitude that he wanted to implement and how to get this message across to his players. I did have the opportunity to go and watch a brief little workout that they had in the morning and just saw the structure and how the players responded to that. It's like teaching. It's like raising a child. You're going to try different things to see what works. Now, Coach Bush has a mentality coming in, and that's what he wants to lay down. It's going to work with a lot of the Cannon County players. Some it's not. But what he has to do as quickly as possible is get everyone on board.
This Cannon County team, Darvin, 19 of their last 20 games they have lost, and by a margin of around 37 to 38 points per game. It's been disheartening for this program the last 2 years. However, you only have to go back to 09 to find this team winning a district championship. It's been done, and in fact, you can look at a handful of players remaining on this team that were part of that 09 run to the district championship. Is the foundation there this year? You got to think it's been building for a couple of years. Has Coach Bush inherited a good situation and a chance for Cannon County to kind of get off that schneid just a little bit?
I think that he's inherited a potentially good situation. Without talking specifics about the past regime, the past coaching, I think it's just like the presidential election coming up in November. There's a lot of hope You know, when you have a change, there's a lot of hope. So right now, what you have in spades is the community and the people rallying around Coach Bush will rally around Coach Bush and the players, and they want to give them every opportunity to be successful. And I think that is important when you look at this squad. Have a lot of returning experience, especially on defense. I think, as Tony alluded to earlier, that could be a strength of this team. I think when you look at this squad, they're a wild card. It's really hard to put a finger on how good they're going to be because you do have a new coach. You are coming off, you know, obviously a couple of years that have been very trying for the program. But again, the good thing about that is you really have got a situation where you can only go up. I mean, you know, with that being said, with the kind of trials and tribulations they've had.
Tony, what's the wild card for this team this year? What do you look at as the one element that's got to absolutely go right for Cannon County to be successful this season?
Well, I think quarterback, all eyes will be on the quarterback. Ryan Jordan was an outstanding signal caller last season, threw for almost 1,800 yards. He would have been back as a junior. He is now at Eagleville, transferred this summer when they moved. So what's happened is you've taken one of your best receivers and moved him to quarterback in Cody Petro. The backup is a sophomore in Jake Todd, who's a good athlete, but neither quarterback coming into the season has ever taken a snap in a varsity football game. So regardless of how that goes and where you go, you know, the quarterback is going to be a big question mark. Cody brings that different dimension in that, you know, he's very elusive, has very good speed. So he could bring a different look to the offense, but in order for that unit to go, a player who has not played under fire at that position is going to have to step up for this team.
All right, more coming up on Cannon County and the Watertown-Cannon County matchup. We're also going to go in depth with the coaches here in just a little bit, get their comments, talk about that. And we're also going to have our high school picks. We've got 5 games at the end of our episode that we'll be making our picks all coming up right here in Armchair Quarterback. And again, our program this evening brought to you by DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse, located at 805 West Main Street in Woodbury. For pizza, other Italian dishes, steaks, chicken, all kinds of specialties. And don't forget about the shish kebab special for just $7.99. We appreciate the great folks at DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. More coming up on Armchair Quarterback. Stay tuned here on DTC.
We are different. Society should aspire to be more like us.
Be part of the first class. Get energized. Get outside.
Hold on, guys. It's gonna get bumpy.
And get moving. Experience the power of physical activity. Join the movement at ActionHeroAlliance.com.
Back on Armchair Quarterback, brought to you by DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to sit down for a few moments with both of the coaches for our upcoming matchup this week at Cannon County and at Watertown. First of all was Coach Brent Bush, again, the first-year coach at Cannon County High School. One of the first things I did want to mention to Coach Bush, kind of like we talked about in the first segment, was how do you go about restoring that confidence to this program that's lost 19 of their last 20, yet when you go back to the 2009 season, this was a team that won the District 8 AA championship. This is what Coach Bush had to say.
Well, you know, first of all, is getting the kids out, and they gotta have a somewhat sense of belief in their community. You know, it's not about, you know, me. You know, it's about the community and what they represent, and you know, and doing the best they can with whatever, you know, God gave them. And we're right. We were at the top of the districts and district then, and back in my day, back in the late 70s, we had some pretty good teams then. So we've always had a smattering a talent spread out among classes. We've just never had enough, to really be a dominant or a continuation sport, or a continuation, year after year.
This being Coach Bush's first year, I also wanted to talk about changes in philosophy. In the last 3 seasons under Coach Joel Shrink, we saw a lot of spread offense with Cannon County. Is that going to be the case this year with the Cannon County Lions?
My strategy is to kind of get it back down, simplify the game, have fun with it, learn to play aggressive, and play hard football, and for four quarters. The spread Franklin offense is a great offense, what I've read of it, and but we'll run some of that. We'll keep what we can. The stuff though that we can't do, we'll add some different stuff. So you'll see a little bit different. Like I keep what's good, and I put in what I think can work better.
Guys, we hear there from Coach Bush, and the first thing we'll talk about is the restoring confidence. We touched on that a little bit in the first segment. It's all about things he talks about, community. I think from our perspective, and Tony, having covered with the newspaper and been close to the athletes themselves, we see a lot as far as our sports coverage of really a lot of community pride with this Cannon County program, be it football, be it basketball. It seems like any athletic event, these folks are out tailgating, they're putting signs up on their marquees. I believe he won't have a whole lot of trouble getting the faith and the confidence of the community. Darvin, you yourself, having helped coach basketball here, have seen that as well up close. There is a lot of interest in sports in this community.
Well, I think you're right. In the one sense, and it's what I talked about a little bit earlier in our opening segment, is there's a lot of hope right now, and there's a lot of excitement, and I think that's great. And the one thing this community does well, and I say this community, talking about Woodbury and the Cannon County faithful, is if you put a product out there, not just a winning product, but if you put out a product that I think people can enjoy to watch or that they can respect. And, he talked about the community. He mentioned that. Coach Bush mentioned that a couple times. He talked about respect and being representative of the community. If you put that out there, people will come, Tony.
Yes, and one thing with Coach Bush we haven't talked much about, but Coach Bush played here at Cannon County, Woodbury Central, went on to play at MTSU under Coach Boots Donnelly. He's got a vested interest here. He's not just a guy that's been hired to come in and coach the football program. This is his community. And, you got to remember, he came back here having retired as a lieutenant colonel in, the U.S. Army, having done what he did, and he didn't come back to be the head coach at Cannon County. He was going to retire, enjoy the rest of things, got 2 boys playing at Tennessee Tech. But things happen, and here he is. But community means a lot to Coach Bush, and I think we've seen that this summer through some of the things that he has implemented and what he's doing there.
Chris, when you hear him talk about certain things about the spread offense that he likes, certain things that he sees that works, this was a man that was also an assistant coach last year on Coach Shrink's staff. Do you think his sense of what these players can do, he has a better understanding, having been close to the program, that he knows, yeah, we can do these things well, yeah, we did these things well, and he's trying, I heard the word simplify in there, to maybe scale things back a little bit and add some new elements that he feels will be a stronger suit for this current team?
I think you simplify because you have to have the players reacting to situations, not having to think about a situation and then, oh, what do I do? Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do this. And by then it's too late. So you have to simplify and put things into your terms. I also think that Coach Bush is going to use what Coach Bush understands and what he knows. And there's going to be good things from the old regime that he's going to like, as he stated. He's going to keep what he likes. He's going to discard and put something else in its place of what he doesn't like. But he's also going to find out what works for these players and this team.
Okay, quickly, new quarterback. We got to remember Ryan Jordan was the man under center last year running this spread offense. You got a new body back there. How does that, Tony, do you feel like, how does that affect this offense?
Well, if you're assuming they stay in the spread, then it would affect it, somewhat. I do believe that part of switching to more of a running attack would probably mean going away from just the traditional spread that Coach Shrink ran, but still being able to get in and out of that. Now, Cannon County has not revealed that in any of their scrimmages. They've tried to stay true to the spread or just an I formation type thing at times, but I think that it's not as great as of an impact if they make changes that kind of they're leaning toward.
And, of course, Cannon County, as we mentioned, will be hosting Watertown this week, and the Purple Tigers come in. They've got a few questions they need to answer. They do have some good folks back at the skill positions, butts and bodies to replace on both the offensive and defensive line. So some work to do for Coach Gavin Webster this offseason. As I sat down with him earlier this week, one of the things that I mentioned, and, guys, we talked a lot about this. We were there and watched this Watertown team get off to a 6-0 start. Then they tumbled in their last 5 games, 4 in the regular season, and then their playoff loss in the first round. And I asked Coach Webster, would that serve as motivation for this year's team?
Yeah, it's always in the back of your mind. You know, we started out real good, and we lost you lose the last 4 games of the season, then got playoffs and got beat there. So that's in the back of your mind, you know, trying to figure out, what we need to do better, what went wrong, and things like that. Of course, we know we played good ball teams, but, there was we felt like we could have played a lot better. So we are using a little motivation team-wise and the coaching staff and just trying to put together a good ball team this year.
Now, guys, you got to sort out sometimes the coach speak and the way players look at things. We understand that. But Coach even goes in and says, yeah, you think about it in the back of your mind, but, Chris, Darvin, the 3 of us were at Friendship last year when a very confident 6-0 Watertown team came in to take on Friendship Christian, a team that had a couple of losses at that point. And I think Friendship caught lightning in a bottle at just the right time, because that night, I'm convinced, started their march to the Class 2A state championship. And it started the downfall for Watertown. You can't tell me that a Ty Jobe, that a Brandon Hill, that these kids coming back are using that as a little bit of motivation this year. They want to come back out and not go 6-0, but they want to show themselves against Gordonsville, Trousdale, and Friendship Christian.
When we went down and talked to Coach Webster, this is a point that he brought out, and he has spoken with Friendship's head coach, and it says that was the game that catapulted Friendship on its way to the state championship. It just happened to be at the hands of Watertown. I don't know that Watertown collapsed. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw of very solid, very good football teams, and it started with Friendship, and then you had Trousdale, and then you have Gordonsville. And it may have been the scores got a little lopsided in those games, but as far as, collapsing, I don't think that was the case.
But the Jackson County game, I want to go to Week 10 against Jackson County in a game that I thought almost cost Watertown a playoff spot.
Well, I think to what Coach is saying, I agree with you. But when you look at the Jackson County, I think, and Coach Webster mentions it, it's the way they've played in some of those games. I think he expected a little bit more. Now, maybe when you have this, talking about playing this for motivation, it's not motivation when you start the season, but before you play those big games, you go back and say, we can be 6-0, we can be 5-1, but if we don't show up in these games, what is it going to do for us down the road? Because let's face it, it's a tough district. Those games are tough. You talked about really good teams. The Friendships, the Trousdales, the Gordonsvilles, those are tough games. And it doesn't matter how good you are, you could easily lose them or win them. It's going to be, can we get to a spot where we're better come that playoff game, come the Jackson County, the games that maybe they think we should win?
It's a tough stretch, Tony. And, when you're looking at Friendship, Gorgeville, Trousdale, week to week to week, that's just a murderer's row. I don't care who you are and what section of the state. That's 3 tough games in a row to play.
Well, and I think when you haven't been used to winning consistently, then what happens is, you have that great start, and then all of a sudden, you lose a game, regardless of if you should have won it or not, but then another one, and all of a sudden, that doubt starts to creep in. And as Coach pointed out, you've got the doubt combined with the fact you're playing some really good teams, some of which are rivals, and that starts to compound itself. The teams that are used to winning and expect to win find ways through that, such as, the Gordonsvilles, those teams.
Or find ways to get over the loss.
That's right. That's right.
One thing he said about Ty Jobe, now we know, having watching this young man played, he's got the physical skills, maturity. That's a word that this is a young man going from his sophomore to his junior campaign. Throw it out there real quick, guys. Maturity, that I think can make a big difference, and Ty Jobe could be primed for a huge season.
Well, let's just face it, sophomore to junior year, you're going to have a huge jump no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in his case, like he said, the dual threat, and the year of maturity, I thought he played really well as a sophomore. Now he's got the experience of that under his belt, and he's a year older. So he's the kind of guy that can give a lot of teams problems this year.
All right, when we come back from the break, we're going to jump in and talk a little DeKalb County football, Gordonsville and Smith County. We're going to have a little preview of those teams and hear from the coaches of those squads. Some high expectations in Smithville and Gordonsville, and always high expectations in Carthage. We'll talk about it coming up. This is Armchair Quarterback, sponsored by DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. Stay with us.
Really?
Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
This is one amazing truffula tree. Can you imagine a place where these grow everywhere? Yes, it's called the Forest, a magical place to enjoy with your family. Ooh. So discover the forest and explore all the wonder that's there. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Week 0 of high school football gets underway this week. Our DTC Sports crew will be in Woodbury as the Cannon County Lions host the Watertown Purple Tigers. We'll get back to that game with our picks coming up later in the program. Right now, I want to talk about the DeKalb County Tigers. Expectations extremely high in Smithville. This has been a young group the last couple of years. Very veteran team this year that's got folks in DeKalb very excited. In fact, when I met with Coach Steve Trapp earlier this week, one of the things I asked him, does he feel like this is the best team he's had during his 8 seasons at DeKalb County High School? Here's what he had to say.
I mean, it's safe to say that. I said that about last year's roster, just because at every position we felt really good at what we had. I think, losing only 5 seniors and having so many guys coming back, 8 starters on both sides of the ball, we've moved some of those around a little bit, but they're still getting those starting nods. But again, we feel very confident at the potential of each player on each spot. And I think one thing that's different with this year's roster is, our depth is better. I like our young guys that we've got behind the guys that are starting. I think they're going to develop even more this year. And, after this season, they're going to be in charge. So, with all that in place and the way this coaching staff feels about the guys that are out there executing for us, I mean, it's safe to say that on paper, it's a pretty good DeKalb County roster.
Chris, it's hard not to get wrapped up and being excited. These kids have been together. And the one thing I see, and we can go back to the Poteet era at DeKalb County, those were very good teams, but there was a spot here, spot there that didn't have the depth or didn't have the firepower that I feel like this team may have. You've got line depth. You've got 70 to 80 kids on this roster, which you did not have at that time. It's very easy to get excited, but how easy is it for especially the players to get too excited about the season and not go out and play and focus on the games themselves?
You'll hear it in a lot of locker rooms, and the talk about locker rooms, you want a confident air in that locker room. You want confidence. You don't want cockiness. You want some confidence. And I think the team from the spring and through all their past in league tournaments and everything that they've gone through all that in has just bled confidence through this team. It starts with the quarterback, Lucas Phillips, and it's dwindling down to every single player on that football team right now. They are oozing with confidence.
Darvin, you get excited about Lucas Phillips. You get excited about the return of Sonny Young. Could be a dynamic part of that offense, a Will Molander. What Steve Trapp really is excited about is his depth on his offensive line and his experience of 3 years playing together, most of these young men, and likewise on the defensive line where you've got kids coming back who have played a lot of football in those positions.
Well, we talk about it in most broadcasts, and Coach can verify this. O-line, D-line, you win a lot of games in the trenches. And that's not just because I was a former O-lineman and played some D-line among other things, but you really have to have the horses up front on both sides of the ball. You got to stop the run, and you got to run the ball. Now, that looks a little bit different in the spread, but I think, to your point, Tom, these two lines are really crucial in what they've got to accomplish this year.
Still, these skill players, very exciting part of the offense, and this is the DeKalb team that could rival the Poteet offenses in terms of points scored this year. Phillips has really grown with a lot of confidence. That's one thing I think Coach Trapp has really talked a lot about. Lucas's confidence, his maturity, wants to keep him in the pocket just a little bit more. Can they find the running game? He's talked about Chris Chapman, Cody Puckett, some other young men stepping up. Can they switch it up enough to keep defensive honest and run the football a little bit? We'll find out as they start on Friday night against Warren County. Speaking of high expectations, no expectations in this area, maybe higher than they are in Gordonsville, where some experts around the state are pegging the Gordonsville Tigers to potentially be the state champion in Class 1A this year. It would be Gordonsville's first state championship since 1984. I spoke with Coach Ron Marshall earlier this week, and I asked Coach Marshall, is the mentality championship or bust for the Gordonsville Tigers this year?
Well, we don't look that far ahead. We take it a ball game at a time. We take it a day at a time. And, first thing you learn as a young coach is not to make predictions. They'll get you in trouble. So we try to take it one ball game at a time, and that's the way we approach it with our kids. And that's the way I've approached it since I've been coaching. Well, we got a lot of experience coming back, and we have the capability of being as good as we want to be. It's just our young men are going to have to come together as a unit, and they're going to have to take and build on the experience that they had from last year, which I think they'll do. It's just a matter of doing that, and we're going to have to hopefully make it through the season without any mishaps happening.
Tony, I'll start with you. You really can't throw the expectations out there, championship or bust. I don't think that's fair. But you look at this group of players, 19 seniors that have been together a long time. They played junior high ball together, probably junior pro ball together, junior high, high school. This has been a group a lot of folks have looked at for a long, long time, and I think folks are very excited. But I think you still got to have a little bit of cautious optimism.
You do, and I remember some of those great Gordonsville teams of the mid-'80s, and when Brad Cowan played there, I believe is now coaching at Oakland, but he was a big-time player in that program, and the support is there like you talk about, but it's experience, it's a lot of things to get excited about, but when you talk about that championship or bust mentality, and we all understand the playoffs, and we all understand how sports are, when you put that all out there instead of going game to game, a great season can become a disappointment if you fall just short of these ultimate goals. So I do think you have to be guarded and understand that you've got to play, as coaches tell you, every quarter, every play of every game in order for this to materialize into the championship type of season they think it can become.
And this is a team you look at. Peyton Watson back under center, had a great year last year. But there are a few holes that have to be filled. Nike Escobedo, excellent playmaker. Guys, we've watched him the last 2 years. Somebody's got to step up and be that X factor as far as an offensive skill position. Somebody you've got to know where he is on the field at all times.
Yeah, you look at the pieces. They got a lot of stuff. I tell you, managing expectations is one of the hardest things in coaching, and I'm sure Coach would attest to that. It's hard managing it. Sometimes you have teams that do it well. Sometimes you have teams that don't do it well. We won't really know that till they get in there and have some adversity, because adversity breeds one of two things, Coach.
You're going to do your absolute best to keep the players focused on one game at a time, this week's opponent, and that's it. Of course, you know you're pretty good. Everyone around knows that you're pretty good. You're going to know when those big games are, but if you put the pressure of win it all or bust, then you've got the players playing extremely tight. They're not able to react to the situation. They're thinking. And that's when they're going to get beat. And that one loss could cost them an awful lot.
Let's not forget, Gordonsville does not start till week 1. They have week 0 off. But then comes the murderer's row right out of the gate. At Smith County, they've lost 13 in a row to Smith County. Then they've got Friendship and Trousdale County, not sure in which order. And I believe they've lost 19 in a row to Trousdale County. It's been a lot. So they've got some monkeys on their back to try to get rid of. But again, the bar's raised. Trousdale's down a little. Friendship had their run, but they've got some holes to fill as well. So is this Gordonsville's year? We're going to find out, and find out very soon. Speaking of Smith County, well, like we said, expectations are always high in Carthage. This year, though, folks are looking at Livingston Academy. They're looking at DeKalb County. They're looking at all the players those teams have back, and they're sort of writing Smith County off a little bit. Now, Smith County had some questions at quarterback in particular. up until a few weeks ago when Nick Givens transferred to Smith County from Brentwood Academy. We talked to Coach Jimmy Maynard, and I asked him, what about this role as not being the favorite? How does that affect your football team? This is what Coach Maynard had to say.
Well, we don't think a whole lot about that. We, been at it a long time, and we've been in a 10-team region, and we've been picked third, and we've been picked fourth, but it's always our goal is to be the district champion. That's always one of our goals, and as it is this year. And but I think realistically, when you look at it, we lost 19 seniors from a year ago and 21 from the year before that. So in the past 2 years, we've graduated 40 seniors, and that's a lot of seniors for a school our size, or actually a school any size. But Livingston returns just basically there are 9 starters on offense, 9 on defense from a team that was very good a year ago. DeKalb County is just about in the same boat, return all their players, as does most everybody in our district. I think everybody's got a lot of people back, and we definitely have lost.
I don't think Coach Maynard cares if they're the district favorites. Really, they're going to go out, they're going to play every week. They're going to start with Sparta this week. They're going to go to Gordonsville next week. They're going to play one game at a time. They're probably going to get better as the season goes along. There's some holes to fill on defense, but that's Coach Maynard's strength, Coach. And I just got to feel like at the end of the season, Smith County's going to be right there at the top or very near it.
I think when you are ranked or predicted preseason to do very poorly, that you can use that for motivation. I don't think if you're picked to finish second or third out of 6 teams that you can use a lot of that for motivation, especially based on the success they've had in recent years. Defensively, of course, past couple years they give up 10 points a game. They've lost a lot of people, but they've had a lot of people on the sidelines watching and learning and having a lot of blowout games and getting a lot of experience. I put a lot of faith in Coach Maynard and his ability to rally the troops and put a defense together.
Well, let's not forget, last year they're 10-0. They're steamrolling in the playoffs. They're number 1 in the state. Yet Pearl Cone didn't think too much about it.
We talked a lot about that matchup, and that matchup got a lot of attention, I think, mid-state wide when it come out. One thing I'll say here, I just think Coach Maynard, what he was saying there, he does a great job, and I don't want to make him to be, he's got enough skins on his wall. He doesn't have to have me talk about how good he is, but he manages his team, and I think he has a pulse for what his team is, Coach, better than maybe any coach in the district. He just kind of gets a feel for what they need. And of course, we're not there in his practices, we're not there in his meetings, but his teams always seem prepared. Now, they don't win every game, and they don't look the best in every game. They have their problems. But it just seems like he has his thumb on that pulse of those individual players better than anyone else in the district.
I don't think Smith County ever beats themselves. They're a team that you beat Smith County. When you beat them, Tony. They just don't turn the ball over. They don't make stupid penalties. When they do, there's going to be heck to pay come practice the next week, but they're just not a team that traditionally beats themselves.
No, and that's why with Coach Maynard there, as long as he's there, there are other people that teams that people are getting excited about, and justifiably so. But I still believe the championship in this district goes through Carthage until someone else proves that they're that team.
People are looking at Livingston Academy, though, and the Wildcats, they have a majority of their players back. Great skill people. Brock McCoy under center, Creed Hayes in the backfield. The majority of the defense is back. Can they go to Carthage, though, early in the season and win? That's going to be the telltale and could be the game. We got to factor DeKalb in there, too, though, and there's going to be some huge games early in the season between all those 3 teams. And, of course, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch during the early part of the high school football season. All right, when we come back, folks, we're going to make our picks for Week 0. We're going to project district winners in both 8AA and Region 4 Single A and look at sleeper teams who might come out of these districts that may be a little bit of a shock, not so much as a district champion, but somebody that may surprise and make a strong run toward the playoffs. All those picks are coming up. Our next segment of Armchair Quarterback brought to you by DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse of Woodbury. Stay tuned.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
You know, traditionally has some big players. I assume, you know, be very well coached, you know, and Coach Bush. So know a little bit about them. I think they're trying to maybe stick with a little philosophy of what they did last year, of our spread the ball around and trying to run it and throw it. So, you know, I expect a good ball game when we go over there.
Coach Gavin Webster and his comments about the Cannon County Lions as those two teams get set to do battle this Friday night in Woodbury, and of course that will be our DTC Sports High School Football Game of the Week. You can view that game live via web stream at mydtc3.com, and we'll also have the game in replay format coming up next week right here on MyDTC3. Guys, it's time for our weekly picks. Now, as we pointed out at the top of the episode, we won't be breaking down high school football each week. We will be talking about high school. We'll have our high school picks, but we'll also delve into college football and the NFL as those seasons get underway. Today we are high school heavy because this is week 0 of the high school football season. Very exciting time of year. We've had a chance to watch folks in scrimmage. This week it gets underway for real, and there's some very interesting matchups. Let's start with game number 1. The DeKalb County Tigers have started every season off since 2005 hosting the Warren County Pioneers or playing their border rival Warren County. This year no different. Warren County's had the upper hand in the series, but DeKalb County won the game last year over in McMinnville. And again, this is a veteran DeKalb County team coming back. This is a game DeKalb's got to come out, in my opinion, impress, look strong, play focused, play well, play disciplined, and show right out of the gate that they're a team capable of winning District 8AA. This is not a district game. Coach, I think they've got to have a strong showing. How do you see it matching up, DeKalb County and Warren County?
I've got DeKalb County on that. Despite what you might read from a Warren County newspaper, I think there's some struggles at Warren County, like there are in some other places, down a little bit. And we're talking about DeKalb being possibly the best team that they've had in their, Coach Trapp's era anyway. So to me, this was not a real difficult decision. I don't think I'm leading with my heart here, but I picked DeKalb County.
Darvin, Warren County, of course, the talk always is the bigger school should win. We don't always see that in football. There's not a lot of folks wanting to play in Alcoa and people like that. Sometimes size doesn't matter when it comes to high school football. Will it matter for Warren County?
Don't think it'll matter. This is, I think, an interesting game for DeKalb in the fact that I don't think this is the case, and I know Coach wouldn't agree, but how much does DeKalb have to win by if they win? Because I'm afraid that some of this expectations that is getting circulated, they won 26-7 last year at Warren County. If it's 21-14, if it's 21-10, that's a win. Everybody should be happy. But I'm hoping people don't go, well, they didn't play real well, So, and with that being said, they may go out there and absolutely dominate at home. And I'm going to go with DeKalb County wholeheartedly. I do think they're going to win pretty impressively. If they don't, I hope people understand that first game of the year.
Mm-hmm. You go back to 2008, and I think what started turning the DeKalb County program around under Coach Trapp was the game against Warren County. If you remember 5, 6, and 7, Warren County really dominated DeKalb County. That 08 game behind the outstanding quarterback Hunter Poteet, DeKalb County went out, put up 42, 43 points, I think it was, and won convincingly. I think they need that kind of effort in this game this week. Tony, how do you see it playing out DeKalb and Warren County?
Well, a lot of times you mentioned the big school, small school thing, but the difference here is a lot of times it's about believing. DeKalb County believes it's going to win this football game, and it's the best football team regardless of size, and I think those facts will bear out in the coming week. We do have to remember it's week 0. There's not a lot of film on this. You go out, you play the game pretty much heads up, and I think the better football players are in Smithville on this Friday night. So I picked DeKalb in that one.
You guys all make great points. I'm just going to pick DeKalb County. I don't even need any more reasoning. I think it'll be a good win for DeKalb County, a good way to start the season. Darvin, I like what you say. I think you got to go out. A win should be a win, but I think DeKalb will be motivated to try to make it a truly impressive win.
To kick off their season.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and I learned here we got to watch Coach here in about 3 weeks, you know, despite what the newspapers may say. So when DeKalb and Cannon play, I'll have to watch that one.
You never know.
Yeah, those newspaper guys can sometimes be.
We get our information from everywhere.
There you go.
Game number 2, let's talk about the Smith County Owls. They're going over to Sparta to play White County, and I'm starting to hear a little bit more hype about the White County Warriors. This is going to be, I think, an interesting test for Smith County right out of the gate because this is a pretty veteran White County team going up against the Smith County team, new quarterback. Now, granted, it's a young man coming from Brentwood Academy. He's a senior, but really he's been playing behind a fellow senior, so going to be kind of a new experience for him. 7 new starters on defense. Most of the offensive line is back. 2 great tailbacks, of course, at Smith County. But I think this is an interesting test, Darvin. A good way for Coach Maynard to get his team underway for this season.
And 2 things here. Sparta is getting some pub. You know, the new coach, Coach Hauser, comes with good bloodlines. I think he's got things. I think there's a lot of hope in Sparta. I think when you look at Smith County, Smith County in this game, they won 41-14 going away last year. I think when you look at the pieces they have offensively, I have a hard time believing White County can slow those down. Look, Manning, you heard it here first. Manning's going to have a tremendous year. Barring injury, he's the real deal as far as running back is concerned. I just think that this game is a game that's going to kick off the off season in a big way.
Okay, Tony?
I'll take Smith County in that one also. Many of the same reasons I mentioned earlier. White County is making an upswing here. And you could see this building really the last couple years. New coach, so you'll have to watch that. But, again, I think Smith County goes on the road as the better football team traditionally, and I'll pick them in that one.
I'm going to go with Smith County, but I'm going to tell you guys what. I think this score will surprise us. I believe it's going to be a close game. I think White County is going to come out there with some a veteran savvy about them. They're going to have a little bit of confidence. The new coach, they're going to throw a few wrinkles at Smith County. Smith County is a good team, and I'm like you, Darvin. I think Manning you can probably throw him into Mr. Football talk right now if he stays healthy. But I think it's going to be a closer game than maybe some people estimate. Coach?
I believe until Coach Maynard can get that defense squared away and more reps and more opportunities against other people, you're going to see an offense that's playing it pretty close to the vest. You've got a quarterback from Brentwood Academy, but you do have Manning. You do have 3 veteran offensive linemen back. I think they're going to be able to run the ball against 7, 8, maybe 9 men, in the box. I think you're going to see a lot of that from Smith County this year, and I pick Smith County.
All right. It looks like it's unanimous again. But once again, keep your eye on White County in this game. I think it could be interesting. Don't forget DeKalb County's also got White County, and so does Livingston Academy later on this year. So the top 3 in 8AA are all going to get a test from White County at some point this season. As we go to game number 3, let's talk about the defending Class 2A champion, Friendship Christian. Now, I don't want to say they're gutted, but they had a lot of losses, a very senior-laden team a year ago. Now, they got the quarterback transfer from Pennsylvania, and this guy's the real deal from all we hear. That gives them the opportunity to move Swindle, the quarterback last year, to another position, get him out on the field, a dangerous weapon there, but a good test again. Friendship goes to DCA to open the season. DCA is kind of like Friendship. They've had some changeover from a year ago, but always a good football program. I think this is a dandy of a ball game, Tony, to start off the season for both Friendship and Donaldson Christian.
I'm going to make it easy and stick with Friendship Christian going on the road to win in this one.
I'm going to take Friendship. I'm very anxious to see the new quarterback. Like I said, it sounded like the real deal. And who all's recruiting this young man that we've been hearing about?
Everybody in the Southeast, I believe.
Yeah. So, a young man like that comes to Lebanon, I think he's going to have a big year in Lebanon for Friendship Christian Commanders.
Both schools lost a lot of players from last year, real good programs from last year, successful seasons. I believe that Friendship has a little bit more coming back, being the defending state champions. I pick Friendship.
All right, and Darvin?
I'm going to go with DCA. They beat them last year when they were state champions. I think DCA's got a little bit more coming back. It was a touchdown game last year. I'm going to go DCA at home.
Well, about time somebody went out on a limb here. Right? Not that that's a very big limb. That's a pretty good pick.
It needs to be a fairly big limb.
It should be an interesting game in Week 0. So we go down to Week 4. Let's stay in Region 4-1A for just a moment and talk about Trousdale County. We talked about the hype around Gordonsville. Friendship's the defending state champion. Did anybody leave out Trousdale County? And they've had some losses from last year as well, and a lot of folks are looking at Trousdale saying down year for the Yellow Jackets. Well, 8-2, 9-1 might be a down year for the Yellow Jackets. They go to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and will take on Greenwood in the Rivals.com Bowl to open up the season. Trousdale traditionally has these opening games, and a lot of times we'll see them go on the road and lose to a team we don't know very much about whatsoever, and so we automatically think Trousdale County's down, and then they come back and start running roughshod over their region and the other teams in the area. I think this is going to be the case again this year. Trousdale's going to go to Kentucky and lose this game, I do believe, but I don't sleep on Trousdale County, and Gordonsville and Friendship, I don't think at all whatsoever will take them lightly this year, Coach.
I don't think so. Trousdale has such a rich tradition and a tremendous history in football. But I'm like you. I think they go up to Greenwood and start the season off 0-1. I think Greenwood.
If they lose to Greenwood, I think there may be issues. Look, Greenwood is a newer school, but Greenwood got blown out last year by Warren Central, which is a traditional power, beat Trousdale last year. Greenwood has been kind of flowing away. They lose to Greenwood by a margin more than 2 touchdowns. Maybe the talk is right. I'm going to go Trousdale, though. I think they're going to beat Greenwood.
All right. Tony?
I'm also going to go with Trousdale County on the road, picking all these road teams except for one. But nothing good much has ever happened for me in Bowling Green. So I couldn't imagine here. I'm just going to...
We want to talk more about that.
We'll probably leave that best unsaid, right, Tony?
That's right. But, yeah, I'll stick with that tradition and program and go with Trousdale.
You know, a few places, and every one of us, I'm sure, have been there to watch high school football at Trousdale County. You go there, the Creek Bank, the Mystique, the Talent, the small school, they love football there. It's a great place to watch a football game. It really is, and they're very passionate about the sport. And I don't for a minute think, even if they start 0-1, they're going to have a good season. They're going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be ruining somebody's season come December. I just got a feeling. Going on down to game number 5. It's our DTC Sports High School Football Game of the Week, and we're talking about Watertown and Cannon County. Guys, last year it was a 41-0 blowout at Watertown. Do we get the same thing this year? Is this a better Cannon County team? Watertown, again, I think they've got some holes to fill. Coach Webster, though, is confident, and I think he's confident this team could be better than last year's team. What do we see with Watertown and Cannon County? I'm going to fire the pickoff to get things started. You know what? I'm going with Cannon County. Just got a feeling Coach Bush has got something up his sleeve. I just got a good feeling Watertown's got some holes to fill. I'm going with the Lions.
I think from looking at scouting reports and rosters and people that are coming back, I think Watertown has just too many skilled players coming back. They've got a quarterback that's experienced, that's highly touted, running back. They've got a decent set of receivers, and I just pick Watertown.
Can they contain Job? They've got to get to Job early and often.
Yeah,
Can they?
They're going to have a hard time with Job in the tailback hill. Look, it's not going to be 41-0. Love to pick Cannon County, but I think it's going to be Watertown's game to lose. With that being said, it being in Woodbury, Cannon's going to have a chance. I'm going to go in a close one with Watertown.
All right, Tony.
Well, and the one thing Cannon County hasn't really seen in these scrimmages and stuff defensively is a quarterback like Job, who gave them a lot of problems last year. This defense is better, but as we talked about in earlier segments, so is Job. I do think it'll be a competitive game. My heart tells me Cannon County, but what I think is Watertown. I am really glad you're broadcasting this game because there's going to be a lot of exciting things go on. I think the people watching are going to enjoy it and see the community support, the community behind this team. But when you get right down to the business of football, I believe Watertown wins this game. And I believe they're making this the Mayor's Cup game or something starting out this year. So maybe that's something to watch for, as the 2 mayors will be down there at kickoff, and hopefully they won't get into anything down there at midfield. But I'll take Mayor Patrick in that battle.
Maybe they can have a dinner at DJ's once they get done. So, want to thank DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse, by the way, for sponsoring the program today. We got our fill of food before we got started today. Some great pizza from there. So be sure to stop by DJ's before the game on Friday night. Come on out and be part of our pregame festivities here on DTC Sports, as it will be Watertown and Cannon County to open the season. All right, guys, time for our district champion picks and sleepers for both District 8AA and Region 4 Single A. We'll start with District 8AA. We hear all the hype about Livingston Academy, DeKalb County, Smith County. You can pick it 1, 2, 3, either way you want to. One of those three everyone thinks is going to come out the district winner. Coach, who's the district winner? Who's your district sleeper in 8AA?
Oh, I like Livingston. I think they just bring too much back. I don't know. The head, what I think I know, which obviously isn't a lot, but I like Livingston to win it. And my sleeper, I'd pull for the Bees out of Upperman. I think they're a school that made a lot of improvements last year and are going to continue to make some gains and maybe slip up on some people. 5-5, 6-4.
All right, Darvin.
Well, there's a lot of people to pick for the champion. I think as much trepidation as Coach had, I'm the same way. I think until the king is dead, it's Smith County. I've got to go with Smith. I think maybe more so DeKalb might do it or Livingston may do it, but I just cannot pass on the Owls yet. I'm going to say Smith County until someone proves me otherwise. Sleeper, kind of like what Coach said with Upperman, I really think Cannon is going to make strides. I don't know what those strides may or may not look like, but I think they're going to make strides, and so I'm going to look at Cannon County kind of being the sleeper. How well they move up is yet to be seen, but I'm going to say Cannon County.
Okay, Tony?
I'll stick with Smith County, as I said earlier, and as my sleeper, I'll also go with Cannon County. There's, the two games they've got to try to win in the district is Upperman and York. This year, both are on the road, so that's a tough draw. But if they could get those two and maybe a Meigs County Grace Academy who lost 17 seniors, you're talking 4-6, 5-5 maybe, and a chance to possibly sneak into a wild card in the playoffs, but certainly turn fortunes.
I'm going to go with Livingston Academy as the district champion. They get Smith County early in the season. Smith County may just not have gelled quite just yet, and they've got DeKalb County coming up to Livingston this year, and I think that's going to be big. And I'm going with Coach on the sleeper pick. I like Upperman. They got a lot of players back from last year's team, and I like the coach there. I think Coach Herron's going to do a good job, and I think that's a team on the rise and going to be one to watch out for in the coming years. Region 4, Single A, the talk is about Gordonsville. Friendship is the defending champion. Trousdale County still in the mix. As I went down and made my projections, I went and done the unthinkable. I've got Gordonsville at 10-0, guys, and I'm going to pick the Gordonsville Tigers to run the table, snap the Smith County skid, snap the Trousdale County skid. I look for them to go undefeated this year at 10-0, and they're going to be my district champion. As far as the sleeper pick goes, I know I picked Canada to beat Watertown. I think the Purple Tigers are going to get it together, and I think come those latter weeks, they may not beat Gordonsville, Trousdale, Friendship. They could very easily, I think, slip up on one of them, but I think they're going to be much more mentally prepared. Folks, better watch out for Watertown. Come the second half of the season, this won't be the same team we saw at that part of the year last year, I don't believe. Darvin?
Well, I'm going to go with Gordonsville. I just think that they have too much. Look, Trousdale's Trousdale, and I think you can always expect them to be competitive. And Friendship, look, defending state champions, hard to say a lot of things bad, but I think Gordonsville's got everything set up. Now, whether they go 10-0, I don't know if I'm drinking that Kool-Aid yet, but I'm going to pick them to win this district. And then I think as sleeper, I like Jackson County. I think they got a good quarterback. I know they've got a lot of holes elsewhere. When we're talking about sleepers here, I don't know where they can finish, but I just think that Jackson County is going to have a pretty solid season.
All right, Tony?
I'll agree with Gordonsville as far as the champion, and I also like Watertown as a sleeper, getting in the middle of the pack, chance to make the playoffs, and again, with the quarterback-tailback combination they got, that always gives you a chance to be in the hunt.
All right. Coach, drink the Kool-Aid, 10-0?
I'm not sure about 10-0. I do think they've got a real good shot at Smith. And that may be what sets them off at 10-0. But, to me, that still runs through South Pittsburgh. Well, however you package it, bundle it up, you've got to go through South Pittsburgh. My sleeper, I really can't count Watertown as a sleeper. They went to the playoffs last year, 6-0, ran into, a buzzsaw of teams there at the end. So mine, kind of like with Darvin, I like Jackson County.
All right. Jackson County finished 4th last year. Watertown finished 5th.
Well,
he's always going to give you
while we're jumping on the bandwagon here.
Don't cloud the issue with facts, Tom.
Folks, when we come back, we'll put the wraps on episode 1 of Armchair Quarterbacks. We appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned with us here on DTC Sports.
Lead paint poisoning affects 1 million children today. If you're pregnant or have young children and your home was built before 1978, you could be at risk. Learn how to protect your family. To find your home's danger zones, the health effects, or just to find help, log on to leadfreekids.org.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Armchair Quarterback brought to you by DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. Stop by for dinner on Friday night before heading out to the Watertown-Cannon County game. And tell Jimmy and all the folks there at DJ's that you heard all about them on the Armchair Quarterback. Guys, I want to say thanks for this great first episode. We got a long way to go throughout this 2012 football season. Tony Stennett from the Cannon Courier, appreciate you being here and being part of the first episode. And I know you're excited about football season and covering those lines.
Hard to believe it's, already here, and the fact of the matter is it's a lot earlier than we're accustomed to.
Absolutely. Still in the middle of August, yet we're getting set for high school football. Hey, it won't be long. We'll be talking about college football, and we will be adding college and the NFL to our Armchair Quarterback coverage in the coming weeks, making some picks. Got a lot to talk about college football. Been a lot of things going on in the offseason. Of course, the Penn State scandal, Tennessee and the whole Tyler Bray thing, Vanderbilt and the excitement around James Franklin. The SEC top to bottom, of course, just strong as always. The new college football playoff. Whew, so many things to talk about, and of course, we ain't even touched on the NFL. So all that's coming up in the coming weeks right here on Armchair Quarterback. Again, we want to thank all the folks at home. Don't forget to get out on Friday night and enjoy some high school football. The season is here. We do want you to get out and support your local high school teams. We also want to say a special thanks to DJ's Pizza and Steakhouse. For Tony Stennett, for Darvin Gill, the coach Chris Vance, I'm Tom Duggan saying so long for this week.